Okay, so this is video number 2 of my coronavirus isolation over 70s workout. Okay, so video number 1 showed you a warm-up and some stretching and then some sort of glute and core work. So you may have done that, or you may be jumping straight to this. Just make sure if you are coming straight in at this video that you have warmed up. And just a little reminder of some of the safety notes. Just make sure you've got a nice clear space to work in, that you're wearing appropriate footwear for your floor surface, that you're not in slippy socks if you're on a slippy floor. You might want to have some trainers on for this part of the workout, or equally, you might be quite happy in bare feet as I am. Make sure you've got some comfortable clothes on. Make sure that you're safe to perform gentle exercise. So as I said in the previous video, that might mean a quick phone call for a doctor if you've got any existing conditions that you just want to check over, or just if you know that you're okay to work out, then just take it at your own pace. I'm going to give options again, and leave anything out that's a problem if you've got any movement restrictions or any injuries, or adapt as necessary. Make sure you've got some water to hand. And then we've got about 12 exercises, I think. I'm going to give you variations on each, and also variation or options for how long or how many reps you want to do, or how long you want to work on each exercise. So I tend to say to people to work in this type of circuit exercise where we're going to be working different muscles around the body. I tend to say aim for about 12 to 20 reps. Maybe start off with a 12, maybe a few less if you need to, and then try and build, because they're nice body weight only. We've got a little bit of resistance with some very, very lightweight, but mostly it's body weight only, so you can increase those reps nice and high. Speaking of the equipment, I mentioned it in the previous video. We've actually, in this one, I've got 2 tin cans. You can have tin cans, you can have bottles of water. If you've got any little dumbbells at home, that's obviously absolutely fine. Maybe you've got some elastic resistance bands. It's just for bicep curls, I think, is the only thing. There might be 1 or 2 other that need a weight. So whatever you've got to hand. Okay, so hopefully you've warmed up and you've stretched because you've watched my previous video. So we're going to go straight in. I'm going to go straight into some more marching with the arms. So this was part of the warm-up anyway, but now we're going to do some marching as part of the circuit. So I'm going to run you through this circuit once, and then you can either write that down or replay the video to repeat it about 3 times. So this is exercise number 1, is marching on the spot. So I want you, now that you warmed up, to really kind of push yourself a little bit more with this. Maybe get those knees a little bit higher, maybe go a little bit faster, do it with a bit more oomph, a bit more gusto, driving with the arms, swinging the arms, but it actually gets that heart rate up as well, and the breathing rate. So we'll go for about 30 seconds or maybe about 100 steps of marching. If you're up to it, you could always go to a little jog, entirely up to you. Okay, so a little jog, or even those knees a little bit higher. As I say, over 70 is quite a generic term, so there will be lots of variations within this category. Okay, so we've marched for about 30 seconds. The next exercise we're going to do is a squat, and I'm going to give you lots of variations. So a squat, we want the toes and the heels in line. If you want to, you can have the feet turned out just a tiny bit, but not too much. Okay, and then you're going to aim to push the bottom back and down, or lower the bottom back and down. So we're not coming forward, the knees are not coming forward, the knees are staying in line with the ankle, and you're lowering the bottom down. Now that might be too much for quite a lot of people. So we've got some options. So the first option is to use a chair, and you can either, sorry, I should have mentioned actually, we do need a strap in this one. You can either have a strap, which you pop around maybe a door handle or something like that, and then use that to pull you up. Or maybe you've got somebody at home with you that could hold onto your hands and help to just give you a little bit of assistance. We don't want them completely pulling you up because you want to be using these legs. But that sitting down into the chair is exactly what we want to aim for with a squat. Can you see the bottom's coming back and down, not forward? So the weight is running through the heels. And then once you've lowered down into position, You want to work these muscles down the back of the legs and into the bum to drive you back up. So whichever variation you're doing, whether it's onto a chair, assisted or unassisted, or totally free, either toes and heels in line, or if it helps with your mobility, toes just slightly out. And some people might only be going down to about here, that's absolutely fine. Just aim to, if you're hopefully going to do this workout regularly, so each time you do it, just try to push yourself a little bit harder, either getting a little bit lower into the squat, or doing a few more reps, or doing a few more rounds of the circuit. So the first exercise is squats, or a squat variation. Aim for at least 12, maybe up to about 20 reps. Okay, then we're going to go to arms, and we're going to go to a lateral raise. So we want to make sure with a lateral raise that the shoulders are back and down. We don't want any hunched shoulders like this. So standing up nice and tall, bring those shoulders back and down, not too tensed, but gently squeezed together at the shoulder blades. The tummy muscles are switched on, the core is engaged. Remember we did that in the last video? And then the movement is just arms up and out to the side. So you can either do that without a weight, or this is a point at which you can grab hold of those weights or whatever you've got lying around the house. So up and out to the side. If it's too much, both arms together, you can alternate. One up and down, and the other up and down. Or if you don't have weights, and you want to make it a little bit harder, you could add in sort of 12 to 20 raises, and then you could pause and you could do some little circles back and little circles forward. So we want to feel this work in the top of the shoulder, in the deltoid here. You might also feel it a little bit in the top of the back, the middle of the back. Okay, so we've done one lower body, one upper body. Now we're going back to lower body, and we're going for calf raises. So again, grab hold of your chair or a wall or a work surface or something just to give you a bit of stability, and vary that amount of assistance that you get from that. You might just be able to have the fingertips on there, or you might want to really sort of have a nice tight hold onto the chair or wherever. So we're just going to come up onto tiptoes and back down. So again, just check the toes are in line with the heels, the tummy's pulled in, the back's nice and tall, up and down. This is one of those exercises that you do the first few and you think, easy peasy, and then you get to about 12 and you go, oh my god, my calves are burning. Okay, so maybe the first time you do it, just try doing it like this. But if you've done it once, and it is super easy, and maybe you've got up to 20 reps, then you've got an option to come into a single leg calf raise. So exactly the same, use a chair or something for support, or just stand next to a wall, and you do exactly the same thing, coming up and down onto one leg. If you're dropping down to a single leg, you might find that you need to drop the reps down initially, maybe go for about 8 to 10. And then, just as you would do normally, just build them back up again. Okay, so a calf raise or a single leg calf raise. Then we're going to a bicep curl. So grab your weight again, and again, shoulders back and down, tummy's pulled in tight, head up tall, feet planted firmly on the ground about hip width apart, and we're going arms up and down. So the elbows want to stay tucked in. I'll show you a side position. Elbows stay tucked into the ribs. The top part of the arm doesn't move. All the movement comes from the bottom arm, half of the arm. I want to make sure you're coming all the way up and all the way down. You might find this really easy. If it's not really easy, go to single arm. But just make sure that you're not kind of swinging and rocking or doing this type of thing. So really nice and still. If it's super easy, the way to make it harder is to split it and do a little pause. So you come half up, half down, and just keep going. Okay, so you can do that with weights, you can do that with resistance bands. Bicep curls. Okay, we're going for a lunge, a static lunge. Now this can be very challenging if you have knee problems, so just bear with me. I'm going to show you the full version, and then I'm going to show you a variation that you can do if you have any knee problems or you can't bend the knees, anything like that. So a static lunge, I'm going to pop the chair here for stability. We're going to take a wide stance with the feet, both toes pointing forward, so no turning out, so the hips are pointing forward. The back's up tall, the core's switched on, as with every exercise, and then you're just going to lower the back knee down to the floor and back up. So again, you might find that you've not got full range there, you just gently coming a little bit into that, but if you can, we're aiming to get that knee down towards the floor. When we're in that lowered position, that front knee should stay over the ankle. So again, we're not lunging forward. We've got two nice right angles. If you can, it's great to position yourself in front of a mirror to check this out. But don't worry too much if not. Just try and maybe get somebody, if there's somebody at home with you to check it, or just look down. So straight line from head to that back knee down to the floor. So we're aiming for about 12, of course, to 20 on each side. Now your option, if that's just not a possibility for you, is to sit on a chair, a nice sturdy chair. So knees are about at a right angle, the back's up nice and tall, and then you're just going to lift and lower the foot, taking that bend from the knee from sideways on. So it's a knee extension, and as you lift that leg into the straight position, really squeeze these quad muscles. So that's where we want to be working here. So again, stay back up nice and tall, don't slouch. Make sure every position you do, you've got a nice strong body position. So you might be able to do a few more of these. You might only be able to do sort of 10, 12 lunges, but if you're taking this option, 20 might be the point at which you feel like you're really doing some work. And so I mentioned on the last video, but just to reiterate, so the point that we want to get to with each of these exercises is where you feel like the last couple are really hard, that you're really feeling those muscles working and possibly burning a little bit, and then you know you're doing some good. They're getting stronger, or they will get stronger. And the next time you do it, you might be able to push yourself up a bit more. So a static lunge or a seated knee extension. Okay, then we're going to go to a tricep extension, and again we've got a couple of options. So we're going to grab hold of your weights again. So the first option is a bent over tricep extension. Okay, so we're going to have soft knees, just a little bit of bend in the knee. You're going to bend from the hips, so you've got a nice flat back. It's not rounded, so maybe if you start with your shoulders squeezed together before you take that bend from the hips. Then you're going to take the arms and just draw the elbows up by your side. So they're tucked in, they're not flared out, tucked in against your ribs. And then you can either go single arm or double arm. You're just going to straighten that arm and then bend it again. So the movement comes from below the elbow. Okay, so there's no movement, there's no swinging with this upper part of the arm. And the other thing to watch for is that the wrist stays nice and straight. What you don't want to be doing is this sort of thing with your hand, which is sort of a bit, it's quite tempting if you've got a weight that feels quite heavy, to try and assist it a bit by bending that wrist. Keep the wrist really nice and straight. So the upper arm stays nice and still, and then the lower arm from the elbow is swinging out. And that will really isolate that work into the tricep. Get rid of any bingo wings. Okay, the other option for a tricep extension, I think that's probably the easiest one for most people, but if that's a problem, if maybe bending over and sort of hanging in that position is a problem, then the other option is an overhead tricep extension. So you would take the arm up, you would drop the hand behind the head, carefully, you're not going to bash whatever you've got in your hand onto the back of your head. Keeping the elbow quite close to the head or the ear, you can use a hand just to secure that into place. Then you're going to do exactly the same thing. You're going to bend and extend from the elbow only, keeping the wrist nice and straight, and you're going to come up and down. And again, you're going to feel that work isolated into the tricep. You can also do that with a band. This is a bit of a big band here, but if you've got something like this, you can do that. Same movement, just using a band over the head. Okay, so 12 to 20 tricep extensions on each arm. Okay, we're going to get the heart rate up a little bit more. I mean, obviously you're working in circuit fashion, so when you're doing this on your own, you can just keep moving through those exercises at your own pace. Take a rest if you need to, grab water when you need to, but we are aiming to keep working and keep that heart rate up and that breathing rate up. So the next exercise, we're going to go into a sumo squat. So you can picture that sumo fighter They stand in that big wide leg position. So the legs are going wide, the toes are going out if you want to. If you need a chair in front of you, by all means do that. If not, okay, we're just going to do that freestanding. So I say, whoops, legs out, toes out, chest up, tummy in, and you're going to sink yourself down and then come up and squeeze the bum. Okay, so sinking down and come up and squeeze. That might be quite a shallow move initially, but remember we're aiming with each time we do this to just try and get that little bit better. As those muscles get stronger, as those joints are easing into position, you might gradually be able to get a little bit deeper. But this isn't all, because we're going to add in, with our sumo squat, some punching arms. So let's see if we can just punch directly out in front as we're doing this. So squatting down, not forgetting to squeeze the bum, and then punching the arms as well. So remember I said at the beginning that moving the arms gets that heart rate up, and that's exactly what we're going to do here. So go for about 12 or 20 of these, and when you're feeling nice and comfortable with this, maybe you can get those punches going a bit harder, a bit faster. Okay, we're nearly there. We've got 2 more to go. So grab your weights again, or your bands, whatever you've got, and then we're going for an overhead press. So we want the legs about shoulder width apart, nice and secure, tummy on, and then we're going to take the weights to your shoulder, and we're going to just drive up and back down, up and back down. So your option is to go single arm or both arms together. Good, all the way up and down, all the way up and down. You don't need a weight, you can just do that without a weight. And we're aiming to get the arms back and kind of in line with the ear, but not everybody will be able to do that. So again, just work to your limit. If your limit is here, then that's great, just go for that. But each time you do it, maybe just trying to push back that little bit more. 12 to 20 overhead press. Okay, and then your last exercise is a plank. Now we did this in the warm-up video, so it's totally up to you. If you're not comfortable getting down on the floor, don't, just leave this bit out. But I thought it's quite a nice one to finish with, because it's one that you can work on and build on your own. So you would come down, just lying on your front, elbows under shoulders, forearms on the floor, fingers splayed, and then you're just going to, if you want to go for the full body option, you're going to curl your toes under and just lift your legs and your hips off the floor. There is a half version where you're just on your knees, so you would just, from this position, you're really just lifting your hips up off the floor. But you're going to feel that work deep into your tummy, so you're going to pull those tummy muscles in nice and tight, and then just hold for as long as you can. So initially that might only be a few minutes. You might want to go down, have a little rest, come back in. But as I said in the other video, set yourself a little goal. Might be 20 seconds, 30 seconds, or a minute. And if you need to, keep coming up and down, but then just try and get a little bit longer each time. So that's your circuit. So I've done it once through. Maybe you can do it 3 times through. We tend to say do your circuits 3 times through. And as I said, just work through them exercise after exercise. You're getting your heart rate up. You've got a double benefit of increasing your fitness and your health, but also building strength and stability through those muscles as well. So I hope you enjoy those few exercises. Feel free to let me know. I'd love to know if any of you are doing it and how you're getting on with it. And don't forget, this is not just for the over 70s, it's for anybody that just needs a gentle workout, and adapt as necessary. Stay safe, and yeah, any feedback would be very much appreciated. Thanks very much.